campaigner has been pursuing for decades.
North Korea claims to have made its nuclear arsenal more powerful. State media announced the country's first successful test of a hydrogen bomb.
The governments of other countries, including Japan and South Korea, reacted with condemnation. They're calling the North Korean act a provocation.
조선노동당의 전략적 결심에 따라
Following a strategic decision at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, we have succeeded with a hydrogen bomb experiment. Through our knowledge, technology, and power, we have proven our newly developed hydrogen bomb technology is effective. We have scientifically verified the force of our compact hydrogen bomb. It was confirmed that the test was conducted in a safe and perfect manner and did not produce any negative effects on the surrounding environment. The hydrogen bomb experiment means a higher stage in our nuclear weapons development. We have joined the ranks of nuclear weapon states with even a hydrogen bomb, as our historic test was perfectly successful. Our people have come to demonstrate the spirit of a dignified nation equipped with the most powerful deterrent.
우리 인민은 최강의 해곡제력을 갖춘 존엄 높은 민족의 기계를 떨치게 되었다.
The report said North Korea is trying to counter countries it describes as U.S.-led hostile forces. Still, it said North Korea won't be the first to use nuclear weapons as long as those countries don't encroach upon its sovereignty. The report said North Korean leader Kim Jong-un decided on the test on December 15th, but only signed the order on Sunday. This test was North Korea's fourth. Analysts say officials aim to boost national prestige by conducting it before Kim Jong-un's birthday on Friday. People in Pyongyang seemed excited.
I was thrilled to hear about the experiment.
I think it's inevitable we'll develop a hydrogen bomb as long as the US continues its hostile policies.
Monitoring stations around the world detected a seismic event on North Korea's northeast coast. The area lies near a known nuclear test site called Punggye-ri. An international monitoring agency called the CTBTO is checking if the quake was caused by a nuclear test. A hydrogen bomb would escalate the nuclear challenge from North Korea. It would be more powerful than conventional nuclear weapons because it's based on fusion, not fission. Still, military experts in South Korea doubt the North actually tested a hydrogen bomb. They say the explosion was much weaker than those in hydrogen bomb tests conducted by the United States and the Soviet Union. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe condemned North Korea's action.
North Korea's nuclear test is a major threat to the safety of our country. It's totally unacceptable, and we strongly condemn the act. We will cooperate with the US, South Korea, China, and Russia as a non-permanent UN Security Council member. Together, we will consider a firm course of action, including measures at the Security Council level.
UN diplomatic sources told NHK that Japan and the U.S. have urged the chair of the Security Council to convene an emergency meeting. Council members are expected to condemn the nuclear test and discuss how to beef up sanctions against North Korea. Japanese Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida described the nuclear test as provocative. He says it violates UN Security Council resolutions and a joint statement adopted at the six-party talks on North Korea's nuclear program. He condemned the test as a grave challenge to regional and global peace and stability. People on the streets of Tokyo are also concerned.
I wonder what they're thinking of. It's very scary.
What they did is shocking and out of line with global common sense.
The South Korean government also condemned North Korea. Leaders said the North will pay a price for its provocative act.
North Korea poses a grave threat to our survival. This serious provocation runs counter to international peace and stability.
President Park convened a security meeting and told the military to maintain readiness. She warned there would be a stern retaliation for the nuclear test. Presidential staff say South Korea will work closely with its allies to take all necessary measures against the North. White House National Security spokesperson Ned Price says the United States cannot confirm North Korea's claims. Still, he says the U.S. condemns any violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Price urged North Korea to honor its international obligations and commitments. He promised the U.S. will continue to protect and defend its allies in the region.
China has been an ally of North Korea for decades. Hiroki Hajime is now joining us live from Beijing. Hiroki, how are Chinese leaders reacting to the latest development, latest announcement from Pyongyang?
They have strongly condemned Pyongyang's claim that it has tested a hydrogen bomb. At a news conference on Wednesday, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Beijing hadn't been informed of the test beforehand.
China firmly opposes the nuclear test, which was carried out despite opposition from the international community. We urge North Korea to remain true to its denuclearization commitment and stop taking any action that would worsen the situation.
China's state-run Xinhua News Agency said in a commentary that any action or idea that disrupts peace and stability in Northeast Asia is undesirable and unwise. Officials here say if North Korea proceeds with its nuclear development, it could pose a threat to China's security. They have also expressed concern that North Korea's nuclear program might lead to a crisis on the Korean Peninsula that could involve China.
Well, look, there was a nuclear test conducted 3 years ago, which caused the relations between Beijing and Pyongyang to sour. Well, recently there were a sort of improvement in these relations. But with the announcement made today, isn't it certain that the relations will sour again?
This latest nuclear test will inevitably put a strain on them. Beijing is now carefully considering what it should do. Leaders here have been trying to improve relations with North Korea. Senior Chinese official Liu Yunshan visited Pyongyang in October and met with Kim Jong-un. When North Korea last carried out a nuclear test, Beijing put pressure on Pyongyang by voting in favor of a UN Security Council resolution to impose sanctions. China also imposed its own economic sanctions on the North. But Chinese officials worry that too much pressure might drive the North into a corner and worsen the situation. A foreign ministry spokesperson says all parties should show restraint.
Thank you, Hiroki.
North Korea has conducted 3 nuclear tests in the past, in October 2006, May 2009, and February 2013. They all took place at the Punggye-ri nuclear test site in the northeastern part of the country. All 3 were conducted after the UN Security Council either condemned North Korea or stepped up sanctions following its ballistic missile launches. The test in 2006 came about 3 months after a missile launch. The 2009 test was just a month after another launch. And almost 3 years ago, the country's previous nuclear test came about 2 months after yet another missile launch. However, Wednesday's test of a claimed first hydrogen bomb did not come on the heels of a missile launch or UN condemnation. Last month, North Korea's state-run media reported Kim Jong-un is claiming that his country has become a nuclear weapon state, capable of detonating a hydrogen bomb. Observers say Wednesday's test, just 2 days ahead of Kim Jong-un's birthday, was intended to boost national prestige. But the move is already being condemned by the international community.
Earlier, I interviewed Masao Okonogi. He's Professor Emeritus at Keio University and an expert on the Korean Peninsula.
今回の北朝鮮の発表、これをどう受け止めますか?
It came as a slight surprise in terms of its timing. I didn't expect North Korea to carry out a nuclear test before May, when the country's ruling Workers' Party holds a congress. But now that it has conducted a test, I believe that Pyongyang wants to use it as a military deterrent, as well as a diplomatic bargaining chip. North Korea may intend to publicize this test as widely as possible, and even claim it as a breakthrough in order to achieve diplomatic results.
今回の発表によって北朝鮮が獲得したい外交的な成果とは何だとお考えになりますか?
I believe what Pyongyang wants most is a peace accord with Washington. That's something North Korean leader Kim Jong-un referred to in his New Year's speech. But I doubt whether the Obama administration will negotiate with North Korea. That's why Pyongyang may be trying to create a situation where the next US administration has no choice but to hold talks with North Korea regarding its nuclear program. I believe Pyongyang also wants to say a peace deal is necessary in order for talks on nuclear issues to be held.
And next, we go live to Seoul. Kim Cho-lu of the Korea Institute for Defense Analysis is joining us. He's an expert on military affairs. So, Mr. Kim, North Korea claims to have carried out its first hydrogen bomb test. How are people in South Korea reacting?
Pyongyang's sudden hydrogen bomb test shocked Seoul due to its timing and upgrading of the much speculated first nuclear test. Specifically, Kim Jong-un's reckless decision-making to carry out a surprise nuclear provocation under the major powers' pressure, including China. The announcement within 2 hours after the test pinpointed Washington as a main target, considering that this is a presidential election year. South Korean people see this move as a game changer that could solve the problem of North Korean nuclear brinkmanship with the full cooperation of the international community. South Korean President Park Geun-hye has expressed a strong resolve to ensure Pyongyang will pay a price for the test. I'd like to underline the significance of intelligence sharing among Washington, Tokyo, and Seoul, which is a critical factor to verify the reality of Pyongyang's nuclear weaponization.
What do you think the North will do next?
The government of Kim Jong-un will likely blackmail the international community by showing off its delivery capability by firing a long-range missile or by carrying out another ballistic missile test launch from a submarine. Acting as a de facto nuclear weapon state, Pyongyang will intensify hydrogen bomb propaganda to counter additional sanctions imposed by United Nations Security Council. After intentionally escalating military tension on the peninsula, North Korea is likely to propose direct talks with the United States regarding the upcoming joint military exercise on the Korean peninsula. Kim Jong-un will build up anti-American sentiment among the people of North Korea as to justify the H-bomb test and portray it as a striking achievement for the 7th Congress of the Workers' Party in May.
Mr. Kim, thank you.
We're joined by Professor Hajime Izumi from the University of Shizuoka. He's an expert on Korean issues. Welcome, Professor.
My pleasure.
So before today's claim by North Korea about the test, there were no signs that something like this was imminent, although Kim Jong-un has said the country is capable of detonating a hydrogen bomb. What is your view on this?
Well, it's quite serious, so it's especially comparing with the last previous 3 nuclear tests. Well, actually, this time the nuclear test by the North Korea is quite different. So pattern is completely changed, I think. Because beforehand, the first 3, they launched the missiles. Then they are going to face some very serious international communities pressure or condemnation. Then will encounter with such a pressure, they're going to make a nuclear test. This is the previous pattern. But this time, Well, even though without any, some provocation or any pressure from the international community side, North Korea conducted a nuclear test this time. So it means that it's quite serious. And especially if we think about the future North Korean course of their actions in terms of this nuclear development, well, beforehand, we feel a little bit easy that unless the North Korea declared to have the nuclear, missile launching test, well, maybe they will not do the nuclear test. But now, well, whenever they wish, well, maybe they're going to make another nuclear test. So in that sense, it's quite serious.
Well, it's sure that they became more unpredictable.
Yes, very much unpredictable.
In addition to the fact that they changed the patterns that we recently seen, this time they announced that it was a hydrogen bomb. That's what they're claiming, at least. So, is this something that fits their logic, or do you think that?
I think so.
In which way?
Yeah, because this time, the fourth time their nuclear test, mean that each time they should appeal that they have some much improvement of their capability or the development of their nuclear arsenal or something like that. So in that sense, if we go back to the last time, 3 years ago, the nuclear test, at the time they very much emphasized the success of having the militarization of the nuclear weapons. So it means that the kind of the advance, so from technological advance. So again, at this time of pause or nuclear test, they should appeal to some new development or new achievement of their technology. So therefore, in that sense, H-bomb, they this time very much emphasize that their capability to have H-bomb. These are quite, natural.
But isn't it difficult for them to understand that if they do step up their claims, the condemnation coming from the international community will step up as well? Look, already the United States issued a statement.
Right.
But also China also issued a statement. Well, they were adding that they were not even informed beforehand of this announcement. But do you think that North Korea was fully aware that these kind of condemnations would be targeted against them?
Yes, I believe it. So they already were predicted that there's such a very harsh, repercussion from international community, especially from the both, superpowers of the United States and China. Is quite sure.
Then why do you think they would do this at this timing?
Maybe they need to create some very bad and deteriorated some type of international environment for them before having a party congress. So
in May, they're
going to have the 7th party congress. But the party congress means that the most important point of the party congress is to show up the future very bright vision. Based upon such a future vision, they should create some concrete, plan for achieving some development or something like that. So
yes, but honestly speaking, I think that it will be difficult for the North Korean people to see a bright future.
So if that is true, I do think that the same way. So it's quite difficult for them to do right now. So if that is true, there's surely a very bad international environment to prevent them to having such a very good, circumstances for the future is quite good, maybe. So therefore, one very much important point that at this time when they decided to have a nuclear test, they clearly predicted that the international community's condemnation or the pressure will be very much, tough and very harsh. So if that is true, so maybe they think that such a very deteriorated environment is much useful for them to excuse that now they will not be able to make a very bright future or some new great idea for having some new achievement or something like that. So.
And finally, very, very quickly though, how much do you think China can do something to stop further escalation of North Korean leaderships?
Well, it's a quite important point, and at least China has a very deep and very wide economic relation with North Korea. So only China have a very huge trade volumes and also investment, some certain investment, and also already some clandestine assistance to them. So it means that only China can make a very effective sanctions, economic sanctions to North Korea. So therefore, now we can maybe expect that China will make something different. A very harsh some sanctions against North Korea.
Professor Izumi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.